Hello, everybody, and welcome to the newest webinar in our series, Accessibility Requirements for Online Courses. I'm Tracy Schaelen, the DE Faculty Coordinator at Southwestern College. And this is a topic that I really love talking about because it impacts our students' ability to succeed and reach their goals. So I have a ton of information that I want to share with you today, and we'll be popping in and out of Blackboard and documents to show you how to do some of the things that we talk about today. First place we should probably start is the hammer, literally, as you can see in the picture. Other institutions, some very well known like Harvard and MIT, have faced lawsuits recently because the materials they're putting up are not fully accessible. That is certainly not the position we want to find ourselves in. It's definitely a motivation for making sure that our materials are accessible, but so is helping our students. And the nice thing about good design is it helps all students, and sometimes in ways that we haven't even thought about or didn't even expect. For example, having captions on videos doesn't just help people who need those captions for an accommodation, but it helps English language learners. It helps people who are trying to do their homework while somebody is sleeping in bed next to them. It helps people who are in noisy airports who want to get work done. So good design really works in a lot of ways, some deliberate and some incidental, but it's really good practice for us to all be aware of. There are some guidelines that the Chancellor's Office provides. They have a distance education accessibility guideline booklet that goes over lots of this in depth. I'm going to share one part of it right now. And this is in the frequently asked questions section. So the first question that's often asked is, do I have to? Do I really have to make my courses accessible? Well, yes. Federal law and state law both require it. And we'll go into some of the details of what's required and how we can reach it. But one big thing that I just want to make sure everybody's aware of is that courses must be accessible whether or not a disabled student is enrolled. So they need to be accessible from day one without even knowing who the students are coming into the class, which means that there's a lot of prep work that we can do to make our classes more accessible immediately when students come in rather than waiting for a student to ask for an accommodation. And a big question that comes up often is about video. We're going to come back to this in a little bit when we talk about captioning videos, but most videos for your classes need to be captioned, but there are some cases where captioning is not required, and I think that's important to know about too. So I'm just going to go over this slide quickly with you. Let me grab a pointer here. So according to the guidelines, videos need to be captioned when they'll be stored and used later. So if it's a video that you plan to use for instruction and you plan to use it this semester and next semester, it absolutely needs to be captioned. And that video needs to be captioned whether it's yours or whether it's somebody else's because it is being used as content for the course. So if it's going to be used in your class, it needs to be captioned. There are a few situations where you could use a non-captioned video, and those are discussed right here. So one of the conditions is that the video needs to be in a password-protected environment, which is Blackboard. There need to be no students who are requiring captioning, and it would have to be a video that was just for single use, just a one-time use, something quick you wanted to show people, and it's specific to this class, and you won't be using it again. So that's one instance. Another one is for student work. So student work does not have to be captioned, although some students really are interested in it and will do it themselves, which is always nice. You'll also see something with raw footage and with foreign language subtitles. If you are providing video feedback for one student, it's not something the whole class is seeing, that also does not need to be captioned unless the student requests it. So the basic distinction here is if it's a video that you're using for instruction and it's for the whole class and it's part of your content, it needs to be captioned. Good news is captioning is much, much easier now than it used to be even a few years ago. So I'm going to stop there for just a second to see if anyone has any questions. The chat window looks a little quiet here. If you have a question about anything so far, let's go ahead and talk about that before we move on. I'm going to advance one slide here to show you the 3 types of accessibility that we'll be talking about: accessible images, accessible documents, and accessible videos. So any general questions before we jump into those 3 topics? Okay, I see one question coming in. Okay, there we go. So Rebecca says, what if I want to use something that is from YouTube but isn't captioned? Good question. We're going to talk about a strategy that I recommend a little bit later for how to avoid finding those kinds of videos, because I've often been in the situation where I do a general video search, I find something fabulous, and then I see that it doesn't have captions, and I'm really distraught. But I found that if I only search for videos that have captions, then I avoid that disappointment, which is helpful. But if you already have a video that you really want to use, then you just need to get it captioned. I'm going to give you a couple of possibilities when we get to that point, because this is something that I have been doing as well. So I'm going to share with you 3 different ways that you can get someone else's video captioned for use in your class, and they are all legal and legitimate. Felicity wants to know, do all PowerPoint files have to have voice? No, they don't, although I think it's a really good practice. Just like in the classroom, if you put a PowerPoint up, you would be talking about it, you'd be walking your students through it, explaining what's important. So online students really benefit from that too. So it's a great idea to have a video that is an explanation of the content in your PowerPoint, but that would need to be captioned. And Frank wants to know about YouTube automatically captioning videos. I'm going to show you a few fun examples of how YouTube captions videos in a little bit. Okay, but that we will have to wait for. We're going to go into images first. So any image that you use in Blackboard needs to be accessible to people who cannot see them, unless it's decorative. If it's a decorative image, then you don't need to put in this alternative text. All you need to do is actually put in empty quotation marks. So most of the images you use, though, have a purpose. So, for example, this screenshot I have here is an image of, it's kind of hard to see the bottom, but it's of 2 people who are looking at a computer and smiling, having a good time. And so my description of that is students using a computer. So that is my alternative text. Sometimes it's called an alt tag or alt text. And this is something that a screen reading program can pick up on and let someone who cannot see the image know what that image is about. So we need to have that for any images that we're using in our class. And there are really 2 ways to do this. One of them is to use the window that you see here, which is adding an image into a content page in Blackboard. And the other one is to have an image, I'm going to show this to you as well, have an image stand on its own. So if you were to choose Create Image from within Blackboard, you would get a field like this, and it's the same location. You would type in right here where it says alt text what the description is. Okay, do you want me to show you what that looks like in Blackboard? I do have a class open that we can take a look at. If you'd like to see that in Blackboard, give me a little, either one of those check marks or a thumbs up. I see some yeses. Okay, let's go check it out. It'll take just a minute for us to transition over there. Okay, is everybody seeing a Blackboard course? Excellent. Okay, so this is actually the screenshot that I was just sharing with you. So this is a page in one of my first modules in the class where I'm just helping students get started with the course. And so I have some text here, and I embedded a photo as well to kind of spice the page up a little bit. So in this case, let me show you how I did that. So I'm going into Edit for this content item in Blackboard. And the way that I put this picture here is by clicking on this picture icon. Now this one's already in here, so if I click on it, it'll open up the window with the picture filed in there. So what I can do is either put in a URL for a picture that's online somewhere, or I can browse my computer, grab the image that I want, and put it in here. And then I would do the image description. So instead of something like computer, maybe I want to say, to students at a computer. As long as it's an idea that will convey what you are using this image for. And I'm just focusing here on students working on a computer because that was the focus of this section. And if you're wondering how I got it on the side of the page, that's under Appearance. There is an alignment option. I can have it at the bottom, in the middle, at the left, or at the right. So right now I have it on the right. If I chose left instead, I'll show you what happens. Now it moves over to that side. Okay, so Rebecca's saying we don't need the title. Not for accessibility, you just need to have the description. If it's an image that you don't have rights to use, then you would want to put that information within the text itself. So if you're giving, or I shouldn't say if you don't have rights, I should say if you didn't take the picture, you can put the information about where the picture comes from underneath it for fair use. So if it has a Creative Commons license that lets you use it, you can put that under the picture. Okay, the other way to do it is from the Build Content menu. And this is if you're just using an image by itself. So the whole page here will be an image. And in that case, you would find the image, and then right here is where you would put the alt text. There's a box here for a long description. Disability experts actually advise us not to do this. They would like our alt text to be between 5 and 7 words long. Anything longer might not really be necessary for the essence of the picture. Some exceptions are if you have a really rich screenshot of maybe a chart or a graph and you need to explain the content in that chart or graph for people to get the meaning that they need out of it. In that case, you would need a long description. And the other place that we want to think about doing this is actually in the documents that we create for our classes. So I'm going to move over. Give me just a minute here. I'm going to move over to a document so that you can see what this looks like in Microsoft Word. It's going to take just a minute to transition over there. Okay, do you see a Word document with an image in the middle of it? Okay, excellent. So this is my image. Maybe I want to use this as something to spice up an assignment that I'm giving my students. And so this is the image that I've selected. Let's say that I went down to the beach. I had my kids write this in the sand. I took a picture of it. I'm ready to use it. So this is the kind of thing that somebody who can't see the picture would still want to hear, right? It's this message that you can do it. And so how do you think we should alt tag this? What would be a good thing to write? Go ahead, you just type it in the box. Yeah, so Rebecca's saying you could just do exactly as the image states. You can do it. You could also write, just like Layla says, you can do it written in sand. And that actually gives a sense of the flavor of the image too, which is kind of nice. So that sort of translation of the image is just what we need. So the way that you do this in Word, and it is a little different depending on what version of Word you have, but the language used to describe this process is still the same regardless of your version of Word. So I'm using Word 10 right now, and all I do is right-click on the image, and at the very bottom is Format Picture. And then, again, at the bottom is Alt Text. So in this place, I have the option of writing whatever that description is. You'll notice right now the default is actually the image itself. So we don't want to leave that because a screen reader would read that to a student and it wouldn't make any sense. So this is where we would type in, oops. We would type in our alt text. We don't actually need the title, we just need the description here. And then we would click Close. And although we can't see it, it now is there for a screen reader to see it when needed. If you're using a newer version of Word, you'll find that there is a quick link to alt text that pops up on the right-hand side when you click on an image. But you can easily search, figuring out which which version you have. You can easily figure out where that alt text option is hiding by doing a little Google search. But those are probably the two most common versions that we have. Okay, so anytime that you have an image in your text, you want to do this unless it's a decorative image that has no connection to your work and that somebody would not miss not knowing about. And actually, let me show you what that looks like too. If you do have a simply decorative item, then instead of the text, you would put 2 quotation marks. That's it. And that would show the screen reader that this is a decorative image that can be passed over. Okay, let's pop back into Confer. Okay, so at this point you should be seeing the Confer window now, and this is an example of where that alt text goes. So again, if you decide to download these slides, you'll have a little reminder of that. Felicity, that's why I have these images for you in the slide, so hopefully you can go back over it and it will make sense to you. Okay, so since we're already in a document, we're going to be coming back to that document with our picture in a couple of minutes. I wanted to talk about how you can make those documents accessible as well. So when we are using documents in our class, it's a good idea to, from the very beginning, set them up so they will be accessible. I know that you'll probably still have to go back and do some retrofitting, as I am still doing with some of my documents. But knowing from the beginning makes it just kind of part of your workflow, and you don't even think about it very much. So when we are making documents accessible, one of the biggest things that we can do is just use the heading styles that are already built into Word, because those are built to be accessible. So for example, if you have a syllabus and you want to make the header for your section on attendance stand out, what we might think to do is just to make it bold, maybe underline it, make it a bigger font, make it a different color, and all those things are fine, but if we do it ourselves, a screen reader will not recognize that we have made that into a heading. So we need to use the heading styles that are already built into Word, and those are tagged as headings for an accessibility reader. So a screen reader will recognize that those are headings and will let somebody who's using the screen reader move from heading to heading to heading. So if you think about a syllabus, if you need a screen reader to read that syllabus and the policy you want is on page 4, if you don't have headings, then you have to listen to pages 1, 2, and 3 before you can get there. If there are headings, you can just have the headings read to you and you can select the one that you want, which is a much easier way to navigate a document. So this screenshot here shows you what it looks like from the Home tab in Word. You might have seen these over here and wondered what they're for, and this is where we're going. There are heading choices here, and after you've selected a heading, you can actually change the color, the font, whatever you want, as long as you start with the heading. So as you can see in this image, there is a heading for the title, and the screen reader will recognize that as the title. There's a heading 1, there's a heading 2, etc. So just doing this one thing will make a huge improvement in the accessibility of documents. Frank is asking if this only applies to the doc files, or if you convert it to a PDF, does it also work? It does work if you convert it to a PDF, which is great because we rarely would want to give our students documents, right? We want to give them PDFs so that it looks exactly how we intended it to look, and they don't need special software to open it or a special edition of Word. So if you set this up in Microsoft Word and you convert it to a PDF, this will stay with the document. In most cases, I'll go over when it doesn't in a couple of minutes, but for most people, it absolutely does. Just a couple of specific questions. These may or may not apply to your document, but since they do come up, I thought I would bring them up here. As you know, if you have images in that document, you want to have the alternate text for them, like we just did. If you have tables in a document, then it's important to make sure your tables have a header up at the top. That way, students can navigate the table. Rather than it being a collection of boxes, it functions more like a table if it has those headers. And then the last thing is hyperlinks. So if you are linking to a website in your document, you have a couple of options. And the second option right here is going to be the easiest, probably for most users actually. So the first way is to do it like this. So maybe this is my sentence. Visit WebAIM to learn how to convert a Word document into an accessible PDF. And then I could provide the link that students could use to go there. A screen reader would have to read this entire link, all the dashes, the words, the HTTP, etc. Takes a lot of time. If instead we just use a link within the sentence and clicking on this link will take us there, then it will be much easier to read for a screen reader and for a sighted reader. It flows much better. So if you embed links in your text, then that's going to be an easier way for everybody to read them. Okay, I see we have a couple questions coming up, so I'm going to give us a minute to get those on the screen. Rebecca, you could use the full link maybe in Blackboard, for example. Like if you were using a video, you could put the link underneath it, but you can always test out the links in a document. So if you embed a hyperlink and you put the descriptive text like we have here with WebAIM, then after you save the document, you can try it out to make sure that it works. And if it takes you to that site, it will take the students to the site as well. The one time where I would recommend typing out the entire URL is if it's something that you're Xeroxing and handing to people, because now obviously they can't click on it, right? So if it's something that kind of has a dual use, that'd be a good time to include the whole thing. Sometimes also in the beginning of the semester, it's nice to include both. Most people are web savvy enough to recognize when they're seeing a link and click on it, but in the very beginning of the semester, sometimes it's helpful for some students who have less internet experience to include both. And then after they're used to recognizing and clicking on a link, you probably wouldn't need to continue that. Okay, Frank, include both. Go for it. It cannot hurt to be thorough, right? Okay, so let's talk about saving this as a PDF. So after you have your document just the way you like it, the next step would be to save it as a PDF and upload it to your course. The benefits of a PDF are, number one, students see exactly what you wanted them to see. Number two, they're much easier to open. They don't require downloading. They can just open up in a new tab in Blackboard. And number three, they're much more accessible if they have the headings built into them. So headings will carry over, alt text will carry over for your images. All of that will stay with the document as it turns into a PDF. And the best way is using Adobe Acrobat Pro, but there are other options too. So Adobe Acrobat Pro will do the best job in keeping all of that content, but versions of Microsoft Word that are, I believe, 2010 and newer have this feature built in without Adobe Acrobat. So I'm showing you the two versions here. This is the one, if you have Adobe Acrobat on your system, you'll have an option to save it as an Adobe PDF. But if not, this might look more familiar to you. So when you go to save a document, for the file type here, you would pull down this drop-down menu and you would choose PDF. That's going to also give you an accessible document as long as, and you just need to check this one time, if you go into the options menu here, and you just make sure that this box is checked. It should be document structure tags for accessibility. As long as that's checked, all the work that you did in the document will carry over to the PDF. So if you don't have Adobe Acrobat Pro on your machine, you can still do this from Word. You just need to make sure that that box in the options area is checked. And after you check it once, you shouldn't need to go back each time. It should be a setting that stays. So if you're saying, Adobe Acrobat Pro, how do I get that? Well, actually, our college has a site license for this, and so if you have a machine on campus that does not have Adobe Acrobat Pro, you can contact the help desk and ask them to install it for you. So Adobe Acrobat Pro is a site license for the computers on our campus, but it also has a work-at-home license. And it's not just Acrobat either. It's a whole suite of, I think it's close to 20 apps that are in there, including Photoshop, Dreamweaver, Illustrator, and Adobe Acrobat Pro. So this is something that I recently did. It's an annual subscription. So as a faculty member at Southwestern College, you can get this entire suite of Adobe applications for $20 a year, which is quite a savings over buying them outside of the college environment. And the way that you do that is you go to College Buys and you put in our college, which will be recognized as one of the colleges offering this, and then you will be able to purchase it for the $19.99. I'm going to put that link in the chat window right now. Okay, so following that link will take you to the site that will let you purchase this if you would like to. But again, if you're using a version of Word that you can just save as a PDF, you still can get the same result. Okay, Layla says, does the access to the College Buys only work on campus computers? No, you can actually purchase this off campus as long as you put in your credentials for our college. So certain colleges have entered into this agreement and are offering it. Not all colleges, but ours is. And so when you go in from any computer and show that you are a member of our college, you'll have access to it. Okay, and if you are a Mac user, this is something that I discovered last semester. The Mac version of Word does not carry over well at all to a PDF. So even if you're using Microsoft Word, if you're using the Mac version of it, then you won't be able to have it carry over if you are using this option. If you're using Adobe Acrobat Pro, it will absolutely work. But if you're trying to do it without Acrobat and you're just doing it from within Microsoft Word, This option will save it as a PDF, but it will not keep all of the work that you did for alternative text and for headings and so on. So if you are using Word for a Mac, there are a couple things you could do. One of them is you can add those headings and tags in something like Acrobat Pro, or probably the easiest thing to do is you could just save that in OpenOffice. OpenOffice does translate over when it turns into a PDF. So OpenOffice is a free open source version of Microsoft Office products. So you could take the thing that you've created in Word, go in and save it as OpenOffice, make sure that the alt tag and the headings are there, and then when you save it, just make sure this box is clicked, tagged PDF, and when you save it, all those tags will be in place. And again, this is only for Mac versions of Word that have been discovered to have this issue. Okay. One other thing that you might find helpful is a webinar series that was produced last spring. It was done by Jamie Johnson, and he is the accessibility expert for the Chancellor's Office and the Online Education Initiative. And so he partnered with that one to put together a series of 5 webinars that were all about accessibility. They're great too. This is where I first learned about the Mac issues. So there is a session on PDFs, on using Microsoft Word, on using Acrobat, and on making sure that the changes in Word come over to your PDF. So there's a whole 1-hour session on this that is available from that one, and I'm going to give you the direct link to that right now in the chat window so that you can go directly there. And you actually don't even have to log in. They've made it into a video, and you can just click on the link there and watch the video. So there's the link. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about video. So this is the content from the Chancellor's Office that I brought up earlier, talking about what types of videos must be captioned. So again, we're talking about videos that you're using to teach your course, ones that you plan to use over and over and that you want to have accessible from day one in your class. So, okay, Frank, here's your question. Won't YouTube just caption for me? I have a homework assignment for you. You have to go to YouTube and you have to look up caption fail videos. These are hysterical. And what these 2 men have done is taken a script, they have acted out a little skit, and then they run it through YouTube. Then they actually read the script over the phone and run it through again, and each time they do, it gets more and more ridiculous. So here are some examples of what YouTube decides you are saying. So here's the first one. Is officially tomatoes its prison rations? He look for it. And of course they act this out when they read the script that YouTube has made for them, which makes it even funnier. So as you can see, these are really not what the speaker intended to say. So YouTube will caption for you, but you probably won't like the results. And those captions will still be available to your students. So unless you want your students to think that this is the captioning that you did for your video, you always want to check it out and fix it up before you share it with your students. Pablo is saying no audio. What about the rest of you? Can you hear me? Okay. Sometimes I'm breaking up. As long as I'm still in here and you can still hear me, we're going to forge ahead. We'll just do the best we can with the technology we have today. So YouTube will caption for you, but you probably are not going to want those captions to represent you. So it's always a good idea to make the captions that you want to go with your video. So that's what I want to talk about for a couple of minutes. So getting back to Rebecca's question earlier about videos made by others. So one way to make sure that the videos you find are accessible is to limit your search to videos with captions. So what I do now when I do a YouTube video search is I type in the name of the video, and then I go to the filters box so that it filters my results. And the two things that I filter for are making sure that it has closed captioning, and then the second thing is to make sure that it has a Creative Commons license so that I'm allowed to use it in my class. If I do those two things, then all the videos I look at are ones that I know that I can use, and I'm not wasting time looking at videos that I would have to do a lot of work to be able to use. But let's say you already have a video that you love and that you really want to use. So here, oh, Vera says, where's the filter? After you do the search, so if you type in what you want to search for and you click on search, then your list of videos will come up, and right here at the top left will be a filter button. And when you click on it, you will see all of these options that you can choose from. Okay, so if you did stumble upon a video that you really want to use, but it's not captioned, you have three good options. The first one is to request captioning through our college. So our college, like many others in the system, have a local DECT grant. And the grant money pays for captioning. So you would go through DSS to request the captioning, and then they will send it out to one of the companies they've contracted with, and then in approximately 2 weeks, they will send you a link to the captioned video. So the one that I'm sharing with you here is one of my videos that I had captioned in this way. And as you can see, it adds a separate black bar to the bottom of the video with the captions. So that's option one. Another option that I've tried recently is 3C Media Solutions. So I had one of our webinars captioned when it was converted into a video, and this is what it looks like. It actually looks like most videos are captioned if you did the captioning. So the captioning comes onto the video itself. It's built into the video, and I was really pleased with this experience. It took 3 to 5 days. I think it was closer to 3 for this one, and this was a 1-hour video. And all I had to do was click a box saying that I wanted to caption it. So it was very easy to use. And if you go to 3C Media and create an account, 3C Media, by the way, is funded by the Chancellor's Office. So if you go there and you create an account, then you can upload any video you want to your account and you can have it captioned. Then, once it's captioned, you can get the link, but you also can get an embed code, which is what we really want for our online classes. So you take that embed code, you could put it right into your class, and it looks like any other captioned video. So I had a great experience with 3C Media. And then a third option, if you don't want to wait, if you need it now, is you can actually do it yourself. So if you go to Amara, which is amara.org, you'll find a service that is web-based, and you can caption any video that you have found. So the video will play, you will type in the captions, you can adjust those captions to the different pages, and then you can save it and use it in your class. And it will look similar to this one as well. The captions will show within the video, not as a separate bar underneath. So those are your three major options. If you're in a big hurry, Amara will save you. If you have a little bit more time, 3C Media Solutions is a great option. And if you have lots of time and you would prefer to have this bar under your video, then you might want to go through DSS and one of the companies that they contract with. Keep in mind, though, that this video was not embeddable. So I was given a link to it, but I was not able to embed it. So what I ended up doing was embedding the original video and then putting a link underneath to the captioned version. Rebecca says, do you know of any voice-to-text programs that can help transcribe text? I have done this unofficially, just using an iPhone or using the built-in software in my computer, and it has done a fair job. But I think you'll find that YouTube does a fair job of that as well. That's what I'm going to show you next. So if you have a video that is your own, you can actually use YouTube to do it. If it's a video that's somebody else's, you can play the video and have your phone or your onboard system record it, but you will have to go through and add all the punctuation and edit the words that it missed. Okay, so let's talk about if the video is made by you. So if you have a video that you have created, you've uploaded it to YouTube, you have two options. One of them is if you used a script to make your video, so you wrote out what you wanted to say ahead of time, and then you read that when you were making the video, you already have that in Microsoft Word, and all you need to do is copy and paste it into YouTube. So if you were looking at the editing view of a video, in the upper right-hand corner is the subtitles area. And if you were to click on that, subtitles and CC, this would open up. And you'll see you have three different options. You could upload a document. You could copy and paste, which is what I usually do. And then you would simply, a button will appear down here, and you will sync it. When it's done, you can go through and add in any punctuation or change any words, and it's a very fast process. So that's what I usually do for videos that I have planned out. So I have a script, I just upload the script when I'm done, I clean up the little details that need it, and then I'm done. A second option is to let YouTube caption it first, but as you know, it might not come out exactly as you had hoped. So this is an example of one that I had YouTube caption, and as you can see, a lot of it is right. So the captioning here in the blue box says, "Hello students, welcome to your new class. Let me take a few minutes to walk you through the areas of our virtual classroom." Actually, those words are all correct, but what's missing is the punctuation, capitalization, and so on. So in this case, it'd be very easy for me to click the edit button down here, go in there, and edit these lines. Put a capital H, put periods, and then I'd be done. So if you speak clearly and it's very good audio, you might find that this is a very fast option too. Viara wants to know if I type my script any special way to make it easier. Actually, no. When I'm typing my scripts out, I have lots of spaces in between the parts, but when I copy and paste it into YouTube, all those spacing, formatting, all that stuff is left behind, and it's just the text that comes over to YouTube. So however you do it for you in your script, when you paste it into YouTube, it'll just be the words. And when it's synced up, it'll actually look a lot like this, and you'll be able to adjust it if you want to. Felicity says, how did I create my video? That's probably going to be a topic that we won't have much time for today, but in this particular video, it's a screencast. You can use screencast-o-matic.com or you can use Camtasia. Those are the two big options for doing screencast videos. And if you're interested in learning more about this topic, there is a whole webinar, again by Jamie Johnson, on captioning. And Felicity, Screencast-O-Matic is free. In fact, I'm going to type that in for you right now. Screencast-O-Matic does have a pro version for $15 a year, but I don't think you'll find you need it. Most of the important features, in fact all the essential features, are in its completely free version. It works really nicely. And I also wanted to let you know that on my website, DE@SWC, you'll find a page devoted to making videos, and you'll see that there is a self-paced course here that uses Screencast-O-Matic and can walk you through not only how to use that program, but also how to caption the videos that you create. Also, the Get Real website that our colleagues in the San Diego Community College District put together has a separate section just on captioning, and it talks specifically about how to caption videos, including how to caption YouTube videos. So the process we were just discussing, you will see described in great detail there. So I really recommend that. Also, I'm going to put these in the chat window for you. These are great, free, printable little cheat sheets that go over some of the processes we talked about today. And they're on one page. So I have these just printed out and put in a binder for easy access. And there are lots of these here. So the two that I have up on the screen, one of them is for creating accessible Word documents, and the other one is for captioning videos. But you'll find ones on PowerPoint. You will find ones on creating PDFs. There's a whole host of them that you can choose from on this website, and they're all free. They're all able to be used widely. They have a Creative Commons license, and they are full color, so it's really easy to see the things that they're circling, the instructions they give. So these are a really great resource for doing some of the things that we've talked about today. Okay, and with our 5 minutes left, I want to make sure that before we get to questions, everybody saves the whiteboard, because I threw a lot of information at you today, and for you to have your own copy of all these slides, here is what you do. So again, you're going up to the Blackboard Collaborate menu on your computer, which should be in the far left corner of your screen. You're going to select File, Save, and then in this case, Whiteboard. You might also want to save the chat because it has all of the links in it. Frank, the whiteboard can be saved as a PDF, so it just opens up as a series of slides. And then you select all pages. And then at that point, when you are giving it a name, you'll see a file format down at the bottom, and you can select how you want it to be saved. You could save it as images. You could save it as a PDF. Those are my top two choices. Rebecca, Macs are just not being kind to us today. I will send you your own personal copy of the slides. Although, now that I think about it, I'm actually using a Mac here, and I'm able to see it. But it could be just part of the technology quirks that we're getting today. Okay, so at this point, I want to quickly tell you about the next webinar that's coming up and then open it up for questions. So flowing from our conversation about videos, next time on October 14th, I'm going to be doing a webinar all about how to use video to give feedback on student work. It's one of my favorite ways to grade papers, and it does not need to be captioned unless requested because it's one-time use. So if you're interested in how you can use video to give feedback to your students within Blackboard, I'll show you how to do it. I'll show you some examples. I'll show you how students have reacted. I'll tell you now that they love it. And we'll discuss some different ways that you could use video feedback for your classes. And if your fingers get tired from typing all the time, I think you'll really appreciate being able to use video in this way. So that is the topic for next time. All right, so if you want to discuss some of the questions that you have, now's a great time to do it. You can either unmute yourself and do it over the phone, or if you want to type into the chat window, that's fine too. I see a couple of questions coming up here. And as they're coming up, I will let you know also that we are going to have an on-campus workshop that focuses on the kinds of issues we discussed today, and we'll have laptops in the room. So if you want to try some of this out and get some hands-on practice, take a look at the schedule for the on-campus workshops. You'll see that one is coming up in October, and we will touch on the things that we talked about today, except you'll be able to work on it right there in the workshop. All right, looks like we have 2 comments or questions here. First one, how do we get a copy of the evaluation form so we can earn Flex or Hurdle? Professional development has it in a document form. So when you signed up for the workshop by emailing them, they may have emailed you back a confirmation with the form attached. If not, you can email them and ask for a copy of it. I have a copy of it as well, but it's not online, so I can't push it out to you in the chat window. So if you don't have a copy of it, feel free to ask me for one, and I can pass it on to you too. And at this point, it is for Flex credit. It is not up on the professional development site yet because the kinks are still being worked out of the new system, but I hear that those kinks are almost through being worked out, and so soon we should be able to register through My Learning Plan, and at that point, yes, they will be in there. And the archives will be in there too. In the meantime, the archives are being stored on my website. So if you go to the DE@SWC website, you'll see all the archives. This one will make its appearance next week. Okay, and Viara says, if I make a PowerPoint video with audio and caption it, does it meet the requirements? So that's a good question. If it is a video, then what needs to be done is the captioning, because things like alt tags wouldn't show up in a video. If it were a PowerPoint alone, then yes, there are all kinds of accessibility issues around PowerPoints. So if you were just uploading a PowerPoint to your class, you would need to look for alt tags. You would need to make sure that all of those columns on slides are visible and things like that. So I prefer to turn PowerPoints into videos for a couple of reasons. One, it is easier to make accessible. And two, I just am more satisfied with how my students will be able to get what they need out of it. So if you could try it both ways. If you're interested in doing the PowerPoint alone, there is some accessibility information in that same series of workshops or webinars that @ONE has put together. You'll find one with PowerPoint information in it. Okay, it is 10:01. Do we have any last questions? I'm going to stop the recording as you type them up. And for all of you who are watching after the webinar, thank you very much for spending this time with us. I'm sorry that you had to listen to some of the technical difficulties as we were working through them, but I hope that you gathered some useful information from this webinar.